So the marital contract between God and the angels, I'll just say it really quick how I got to this. God has a woman, right? Which is the angels. He's got faithful ones and unfaithful ones. Jesus had faithful ones and unfaithful ones. Solomon had faithful ones and unfaithful ones. So with that being said, I believe that is the way it is. All right? A rippling effect through the matrix, which is the truth, is God. There's nothing new under the sun. So the marital contract to regain and to solidify that woman, which would be like being married all over again, would be, or the uniting contract between them, but for everyone, would be the contract that everyone would recognize the devil as being a mental construct, and by keeping these things out of our minds, would banish it from existence, uniting us with God. That's all of them, right? Now, that's how I see it. But there is another. It's not another, but with Jesus, there were unfaithful ones and there were faithful ones. Those who continue cleansing their minds and keeping their minds right and their bodies right and actions and all these things clean, right? Their robes clean. It wasn't what was on the outside, it's what's on the inside. So I can pick up an apple, and for me, I'm okay because I'm picking up an apple to eat. But to someone else, me picking up an apple may mean something totally different to them. It could mean that I'm trying to steal off the counter, and there's apples out there, and to them it's like, oh, this person did something bad. What are you doing? You can't do that. Well, that's what it is for one person, and and for another person it could be something different, based on their belief, based on the level of understanding or just belief and understanding. It's just true, and how many discrepancies in between the two, the heart and the mind, right? So I see this repeated throughout the Bible, repeated within myself, repeated around me, with all people, just different things in general. And when I speak of that, I didn't test it all out. Basically see how it is this way, that way, this way, that way. I just know because I've seen these things happen so many times that it repeats in different forms every time. There's so many times. It's ridiculous. And that's how you know it's God, because he gives an overwhelming response. He always gives you an overwhelming response. All right? Everything being this turtle thing. What if everything was a square? Every time you looked at an atom, it was a square. You saw the universe, it was a square. When everything you did, it's like Minecraft, was just like there's just squares everywhere. No, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that would be a fingerprint, which would signify something, right? What is he trying to say? Well, with everything being a spiral pattern, all right, and Phi in its relation is that he's perfect in change as change. So it speaks deeper and deeper levels of who we are and how we fit in God or with God, and what we have to do to stay in line scientifically, which we should have been doing through obedience anyway. So the manifestation of Armageddon will help solidify everyone's resolve. The gnashing of their teeth will be. Right? It's like an inside joke, right? You get it. I think it was like an inside joke, right? Right? I mean, do you think Jesus wants to see somebody sad? Not exactly, but it's good for them. So it's an inside joke. I know. It's like, what? So that's what God does, reveal secrets. And I miss everybody. But I'll say this. The union of the marriage of God's or Jesus's first miracle, the first will be the last, and the last is the first. So with that being the last one or the first one, it also will coincide with the last one, the first and the last. That's deep. So we see how that is a correlation in mathematics, energy. I'm just saying, this goes deep. I'm always fascinated by these things. But even deeper, well, I mean, it is. It means all of these things all at one time. I'm cutting myself off in thought and speaking, so please forgive me for doing that. If you ever catch me doing that, it's just because my mind is going, and I'm checking, and like I'm going back and forth. That's how my brain works. Checking and recheck, checking and recheck, and it's not always a good thing. It can be a weakness sometimes, as we see. And then you have this. I have this lust to learn, a lust to wanna turn things, and a fear. Okay, but try to figure out a way to profit on. When I say profit, I'm talking about taking something negative and offering it up to God for something good. That's how it worked. Like, that's what Jesus did. That's how I learned it, and it worked. It's the truth. Helped me to understand more things that of the spirit, the mind, the waters, the heart. It made sense. It is what it is. So I kind of just wanted to put that out there, and how all these things must be in union. So they say, how does that in union? The original part was talking about with God being the first and the last. One bit of information confirming the last. So it's confirming its own existence, exerting power. And this is the sign, the thinking of God, because God is energy, and He moves and He does things in energy, but it is law. So he's not just. And let me say this: it's not Him. I mean, it's Him, but I want to say, okay, it is Him. But I was going to say, It's just the way that God does what he does. It is who he is. That's deep. That's deep. It is. That's deep. That's deep. That is deep. He always is and always was. Because he confirms himself to himself, which spawned, I believe that way of doing things is why he had spawned Jesus. Part of the motivation of spawning Jesus, which is another part of himself confirming himself, and it ripples all the way down to us, which is dope. It's really cool. And so it's not all about the science. It's about God and who he is and how he does what he does to maintain. So he uses these things to maintain and confirm the reality of these things actually being these things. But his purpose is what? Hey, I love you. Stay positive. Think positive. So you'll be on this side. Because look at this. We're entering into a portion of time that only good will exist. That is the positive. And the negative does not exist. So that's equal and opposite reaction. But to move into that existence, that means, hey, for all of us to continue right here, we stay doing what is right. Because if you want to look back, that leads to destruction. So, yep, I was thinking about Lot's wife. It is what it is. But because that even goes, even the fact that she went into a pillar of salt means something. It stopped me from thinking just because, or speaking, because that is even deeper. Remember, we're lustful for this stuff. It's so hot. All of that. Yo, was dope. That's what I want to go down that path. I kind of see, but then again, I don't want to. You know what I'm saying? Not like that, but just to understand what he was talking about, as far as the salt of the earth. We are the salt of the earth. So, with her being a pillar of the salt, that's why I'm like, what does that mean? It's a mystery. It's God. It's cool because it's kind of nerdy, but then again, it's not, because he calls us to become. It's so dope that it enters in and out of your life. It's like, whoa, this is dope. yo, for real. So, all right. That's basically it. So, do what you're supposed to do, everybody. I'm doing the same thing. I know I say it so many times over and over, but you know, what does that mean for a man having multiple wives? Well, there was a portion that was and a portion that wasn't loyal. We're going in a time where it's all or nothing. Or the transition, right? That's the 1,000 years for us to work on it. So if that's the case, for 1,000 years we're working on this, and we can prove it and be like, hey man, I've been working on this, and you know, I'm on top. Because, you know, it is what it is. For a whole 1,000 years, inculcated to where it's just second nature. Really second nature. It's first nature. I don't know how else to say that. It's just deep in you. Over 1,000 years if you do it. Staying positive and thinking positive. So, and there's that moment of when I say something and I answer myself. And when I answer myself, it's based on the thought process if someone didn't catch what was being said by hearing what I said to myself, involving myself and the reflection of something that resembles myself. And I say that's the spirit. I think it is a resemblance because it's like negative area. Have you ever did anything? It's like some area of something that you can't perceive at moments. Like you can't perceive, but you act on it as if you knew the negative imprint of what it was. And a negative imprint means a thought process that would help anybody who was listening to thoroughly understand if you follow along. So, yeah, I think the spirits are there. I know that they're there. And they listen. And there's no way, I don't know if it's Holy Spirit. Maybe it's part of Holy Spirit. I don't know. It is. It's got to be like for real. So, I mean, this is where this is keep getting deep. I mean, we know that the angels are there. We know that the angels hold Holy Spirit and pour it out on us, right? Facts. So during the time of preaching to a spirit or a wicked spirit that once was wicked and no longer, after preaching, because the preaching is so real, for the most of it, for real, it just is what it is. I don't know how else to say it. We boast in God, but it is who He is. But we still be humble, but at the same time, it's glorious. And that's where we get being drunk in love. That is like that. Because it's so deep that even the fact that it could hinder something, it don't even matter because you love Him so much. It's deep. All right. I'm going to post this and try to send it to whoever it may concern.